Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live. We'll give it a couple of minutes.
Hey Evelyn.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you. Can you see me fine?
Yeah. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
cool. Oh,
Hey everyone joining. Where are you guys from? Put it down on the chat. Let's see where you guys are all joining us from. And if you guys have any questions, shoot them, put them there. Or there's also a dedicated place for questions so that we can touch base on them later when we get to questions.
yeah.
Hey everyone. Thank you for joining. Tell us where you guys are joining from. So, hi Evelyn. So you in a good spot now?
Yeah, I am.
Great.
Yeah, let me know if there's a lot of background noise. I'll
No, you sound great. I can't
Okay.
hear everybody else.
All right, cool. All right. We have someone from London and Los Angeles. Wow.
Hey, Nero. Hey, LA. That's where
Yeah.
I'm from. Well, the county of LA.
I'm LA County.
San Gabriel. Woo! I'm from LA County. Evelyn?
I'm from LA County as well. The outskirts of LA County.
Same. Nobody knows if I say like the city name or at least if I'm like abroad. So I'll just say like I'm from LA. I'm like, I'm not technically lying.
Yeah.
So do you want to get started, Evelyn?
Sure. Let's
Oh,
get
again, guys,
started.
leave any questions in either the chat or there's a dedicated spot for the questions. We'll be answering questions later. So, put them all down there so that we can get to your guys' questions. I'll hand it over to you, Evelyn.
All right. So we just want to start off with the disclaimer before we go into anything else, that we are not certified financial professionals. This is not investing advice. Everything we're going to share with you today is purely informational. So definitely research, and see what the best options are for you personally, because personal finance is personal. So with that, I want to introduce Maribel from Our Wealth Matters. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi guys. Hi everyone. I'm Maribel. I'm also from LA County. I'm a money coach. So if you guys want to, get on a coaching call after this or during this, feel free to DM me. I'll send you guys the link. As Evelyn said, this is all just informational, so definitely research after this. And yeah, I'll pass it back to Evelyn.
Yeah, I forgot to introduce myself. So my name is Evelyn. I'm the creator of My Star on Fire, where I share my journey through paying off debt, but also pursuing fire and hoping to inspire others to do the same. And also breaking down money barriers and taboo money topics.
Yes, I think that's definitely something that's big in Hispanic culture, at least. It's taboo to talk about money. And I think that's really a hindrance, especially when we come to a whole new country like immigrants do. And, you have to learn a whole new financial system. And if you're not into talking about money, how are you going to learn about the new system and how to succeed? So I think that takes us nicely into our topic for today, immigrant families investing.
Mm-hmm. So today we want, like how Maribel said, we want to talk about immigrant families investing. We want to go over the importance of investing, and then share our experiences like with our parents and how they immigrated to the U.S., our background with investing and where our knowledge from with investing comes from. We want to share a couple of statistics of Latinx families and investing, and then also like maybe share some reasons why maybe immigrant families don't invest, and then teach you how to begin investing.
All right. So, Evelyn, do you want to start off with the how your family came over to the United States? I think it's a great story.
Okay. So I wanted to start off with my parents are both from Guatemala, and they immigrated to the U.S. in the 1980s. And my mom, the reason why she came to the U.S. was because she wanted to go to school. And she wanted to go to school, but it was expensive. And my grandparents came from like a very agricultural background, and their financial security depended only on the way like the agricultural crops would do. So if there was something that would happen with the crops that year, and they couldn't sell it, or for some reason they didn't have like a very good year with crops, there went their whole financial security. And so my mom wanted to come to the US because she just felt like I can be here for a couple of years, save money, and then go back home and become a nurse. That was her ultimate dream. And then she came over here. She met my dad, and then I was born. So they
She
planted
just
roots.
never went back.
She never went back. They implanted roots in the U.S. And so luckily I have the privilege of being born here. But I do have parents who immigrated from Guatemala.
Same. Well, my parents. So like I was just gonna say that plans never really go the way you plan them, right? And that's kind of why it's also, besides just like life, it's also has to do with investing because you never know how life is gonna end up going. You may have a plan, but life is like, yeah, right, forget your plan.
Yeah.
So the story with my parents is my mom was, I believe, in her first year of university, and she wasn't doing that hot at university. So she came home one day, and my grandfather just kind of like ran her out of the house, and she was like, oh, what's going on? What happened? So what she did was she just kind of climbed the wall over to my grandparents' house, or her grandparents' house, so my great grandparents' house, who lived next door, and she was just there, and my grandma was like, what's going on? What's up? Are you okay? And she's like, yes, I just don't know. I went to my house and my dad's really mad and he just ran me out of the house and I don't know why. And so she's like, it's okay, you can stay here for a little bit. And I guess my dad was in town at the time. He had been in the US and he went back. And so he was going by, I guess, and he's like, hey, what's going on? Like, are you okay? And she's like, he told him what had happened, and he's like, well, I'm going back to the US tomorrow, just come with me. And she was like, okay, she wasn't doing that great at school. Like, my grandfather basically controlled all the finances. And so he's the one that would give her any allowance to do anything. And so she was like, okay, so they came over here, and a year later, I was born. And I don't know. Then after a while, like my dad was out of the picture, and so my mom had a choice. She could either go back defeated, and she had like broken family ties. Not broken, they were just estranged because of the way she left. And so she wasn't really talking to my grandpa, and to that effect, my grandma, because the dad, the male, is like the patriarch of the family.
Mm-hmm.
So, and she was working a seamstress job, and so she could either go back and just kind of like admit defeat with a child in tow, not being married, or stay here and, grant me all the privileges as a US citizen that I was afforded by just being born here. So she decided to stay. And, for like the first week after my dad was out of the picture, we like slept in a car, and she was trying to figure out like babysitters so she could go back to work. And so my dad had actually told my mom, like, you know what, I had apparently gotten sick. And my dad was like, she's getting sick because there's no one, neither one of us can take care of her. Leave work. I will be the breadwinner. So when he stepped out of the picture, my mom had like no job. All she had to her name was a car. And so after that, like I got put into daycare. My mom went back to work, and we would sleep either in the car, other people's houses, and we would, sometimes eat the leftovers from daycare, like lunch that I got. And the maestras would come out and be like, here, señora, like take this food. Like, and my mom would be like, you sure? And they're like, yeah, it's leftovers, like take it. So, I mean, but now I like went to university, went to college, better off. But that's my story about how my parents got here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy how we have to go through adversity to get, to where we're at today. And that's what makes it even better, like how proud we are from like both our heritage and like despite the obstacles that were around us, where we are today.
Yeah, I agree.
So where with your family background, what experience do you have like in terms of investing? Like where did like money, like the picture of money come in and your family background?
Yeah, so I feel like the way I learned about money was more like money trauma, having to go with that, like, we're not we don't always have stable living. A cada mes we would rent a different place. And so it was just kind of, I think, scarcity mode, just kind of like, okay, whatever you earn, we're gonna try to save and we're gonna try to be really frugal because we don't have a lot and we don't have a place to call our own, ni nada. So I didn't really get taught investing by my mom or at school, which I think is super important. I think that should be added to the curriculum. But I didn't get taught investing in school or university. I didn't take any classes for investing. I don't even know if they offered any. So it wasn't until I became a professional and got into the job force, and I was like, 401k, yeah, I heard about that, but what is that?
Mm-hmm.
So I took some time and I dove into like a YouTube rabbit hole, went through and tried to educate myself, and now I come out much better. And I'm like, okay, I've like maxed out Roth IRAs. I'm trying to max out my 401k this year. And so I'm like, other people should know about this. I want other people to know. If they need a coach, if they need someone to hold their hand, I'm gonna be there because I think that is super important, and it sucks that our parents like risk their lives to come all the way over here to provide us a better future, a better tomorrow, and they're gonna like their American dream idea is gonna be undermined by not because they don't understand the financial system in the US. I think that's BS.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I have a very similar experience as well, where like I come from a background where my mom, because of like I said, like her money trauma and what she went through, um, and in her youth, she is a big time saver. She's very frugal. And so we were just taught to save, 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 but never how to grow your money. And so that it was something that I never knew about. That was something that I like even as a working professional didn't fully understand. Like when I got my first job and I had the opportunity to invest in a 401k up to the employer match. Like I went in afterwards and changed it so I could put the lowest percentage because like it didn't make sense to me. I didn't know anything about it. No one had taught me about it beforehand. And I was like, I'm not going to put in $150 every 2 weeks. I said, I'm going to put in the least that I can. And so I was putting in $70 every paycheck for almost 2 years. So like because I didn't come with with that background, and it wasn't until recently where I realized the importance of building wealth and how just saving it and putting it in a bank is not going to work. And like you're not going to get that growth that you get if you were to invest it. But it's something that our family, like in my family background, I am not taught. My parents have worked odd jobs where they don't have benefits, so they never had a 401k. They never had um, a like education where you could get the background, like where they can get that
Mhm.
education to build wealth. And like you said, like they've sacrificed everything to come over here. So it's a disservice to our community when they don't know how to invest and how to grow their wealth, knowing like all the sacrifices that our family has had to make.
Right.
Sorry,
Anybody
I'm a
else?
little
Do you
under
guys
the
have
weather,
any
so
stories? Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, let me know if you want me to take over in certain sections. Everybody, like, feel free to share your story, you guys, as well. Like, what is your background? What kind of stories did you guys, if you guys feel comfortable about it, like, did you guys learn investing from your parents? How did your parents come over? Are they immigrants? Or how did you learn investing to begin? Like, do your parents have similar stories? So we'd love to hear from you guys, if you guys are comfortable sharing that.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. So do you want to move on to giving a little bit of statistics? So you guys Evelyn and I went down and did some research on this because we wanted to get you guys the hard numbers. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a nerd. I like to know the numbers. Like, where does our community stand in this whole investment, like,
Mm, yeah.
spectrum, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So aside from, like our experiences, and we know that, like there's many shared experiences that we have as first generation with parents who immigrated from here. We wanted to know like where Latinx families stand in terms of investing. And so we looked into the 2020 Hispanic Wealth Project, and we found that Latinx children are twice as likely to financially support a parent through retirement than our counterparts. So what that means is that not only do we have that financial burden to, like prepare our retirement, but we're also twice as likely to also financially help our parents for retirement. So we want to make sure that we're here today to give people the tools to set themselves up for success, but also like take that extra step and set our parents up for success.
Yeah. And I personally like have not taken it into account, right? I'm like, here's my fire number, but I have yet to take my taking care of my parents into that fire number. And so I know like some people do rely on their children. I was just like, I don't know, I think my mom's a little ready, but I feel like now I need to start including that, like, okay, my mom's gonna need some taking care of, and even if she's not living with me, at least aportando los gastos to be able to have her being taken care of, because her plans to go back to Mexico and, make a house and just live out her days over there back in her hometown. And, maybe there's going to be some gastos that come up, and I'm going to probably be the one to have to, me and my siblings, to like put money in. So I'm just like, oh, I got to do that. I don't
Yeah.
know, does that fact take anybody else off guard? That's like, oh, wait, I'm having to take care of me, my family, my children, okay, and my parents. And it's a generational thing, it's a cultural thing. Pero I think it's also like an honor, right? They took care of us, and then it's our turn to take care of them. But just now having to take that into consideration, but on the financial side of like what that means.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I like what you're saying. It's the same situation for myself, and it would be interesting to know like what everyone else is thinking as well.
Yeah.
In terms of like where you're at with your financial planning, and in terms of whether you have to think about helping your parents later on. Because I know that up to a couple of months ago, before I started my financial journey, my parents have always talked about their social security, and we don't know if that's going to be enough later on down the road. So it's something definitely to keep in mind of when we're thinking about our retirement and our future for retirement, and also keep in mind like where we're at in terms of our parents, if that relationship exists, because everyone's situation is different.
Right. And have you asked Evelyn, I don't know if you care to share, like, have you asked your parents, like, what their retirement plan is?
I have, and at times my dad, he's like, oh, I want to go back to Guatemala, and my mom is a little bit more like, I'm not exactly sure. um, so there's times where they want to go back to Guatemala, and other times where they just want to stay here, because at the end of the day, their kids are here, and
Right.
their kids' families are here. So they want to share in those memories as well. And they know that if they went
Mhm.
back to their hometown, we wouldn't be sharing as much as we do now, where we're all
Right.
together.
Right. Right. Understandable. Yeah. And then we also have another stat. Do you want to share that one as well?
Sure. Okay, so we also found through reading the 2020 Hispanic Wealth Project that 71% of Latinx are more than likely to save extra money in a standard bank rather than invest it. So this means that after all your bills are paid, after everything is accounted for, and you have extra money, 71% of Latinx families are more likely to just put in that extra money in a regular bank account where it earns like 0.002% interest, then invest it. And so that already puts us at a disadvantage when we do something like that. And it's because the money doesn't grow. So I don't know if you want to elaborate more on that,
Yeah.
Mary.
And even then, it starts to lose value, right? Because of inflation, $1 today is not going to be worth $1 tomorrow. Like, let me tell you, I may be aging myself, but in the 90s, we could buy an elote with $1. Today, dude, let me tell you, I
How
stopped the
much
local
are they
elote
now?
man, it's $2. And I'm like, dude, you used to be able to just give your kid $1 and they'd be happy. They could choose between a raspado, an ice cream, like several donuts and some corn, and now it's like, oh dad, $1 is not enough. Like, what, like a gumball? It's not enough. So yeah, first of all, so this statistic that 71% of Latinx are more likely to save the extra money in a savings account, right, shows us that it's not las familias latinas, no, they don't invest not because they can't or they don't have the extra money in the grand majority. It's because they may be lacking the information of how to invest, where to invest, or just in general the trust, right? A lot of people come over from a country where, or not a lot, but some people, right, come over, immigrate from countries where the banking system went down, where the government system went down. And that's why they've immigrated here, because it's much more stable. And at the same time, they don't trust then the systems that were put in place over there, but we're asking them to trust the systems that are in place here. We gotta, it's kind of like we gotta reverse logic, right? Like, you came here because this is more stable. Now you need to trust in the system so that we can put that extra money y ponerlo a trabajar for us through investing, and it's gonna work. Trust me, it's gonna work. These are FDIC insured. But again, like, they come from different financial systems, so they either, one, don't know how to work the system here, or two, mistrust the systems because of their past experiences. So it shows that, it's not que nos falta dinero per se. It's more like, okay, how do we go about it, right? And that's where coaching in personal finances comes in, and following pages like Evelyn's and mine's, where we're trying to teach you guys and show you guys, and invite your parents if they've got an Instagram, about like how to invest, how to, even if they don't want to start off with investing, but need to build an emergency fund, maybe a high yield savings account that gives you better than 0.001%, like other banks that I just won't mention.
Yeah, exactly. And with the advent of the internet, like our parents maybe came from a financial background where they didn't know about the stock market, but it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
And so that's probably some of the reasons why people don't invest, where they don't even know that something like that exists. But we that's why, like you said, our pages exist to teach people, to get people more comfortable with money, and to be able to just sit down and talk to your parents and family regarding money, and just how to grow your money.
Yeah. And so we said 71% of those families have extra money, right, that they save. That still leaves about 30% of the families that don't earn enough to be able to actually save money because, maybe their cost of living is too high or something's going on. And so, at least for me, when I'm doing a coaching session, the first thing that we try to do is figure out, like, what's your net worth? And you'd be surprised how many people are like, I don't know what my net worth is. How do I do that? And so I'll help them, and I'll be like, okay, let's figure out your net worth, because that's the first step. We got to see where your base is. So that way we know if we move, like, save a little bit more or invest a little bit more, we see if the needle actually moved in your favor or against you. Like, you saved $10, but then you went out and you spent like $30 on like a lavish dinner because you were like, I'm doing so great. And so, I feel like knowing our net worth is an important first step, but also that gets you to realize, right? Are you not earning enough at your job? And is it possible for you to get another job that will bring in more income, or start a side hustle? Because we need to bring income in here, and we need to start saving, and we need to start investing, because we want to get to this future. These are my goals, but right now I can only come up to here, and that's where, like, knowing your current financial situation, and if you need it, get a coach to try to help you and walk you through and handhold you through these stages, because I think it's super important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So in terms of that, for people that do have that privilege to invest, to, that do have that extra money, where can they get started?
All right. So there are brokerage accounts for investing. So you can either start by your 401k. And so this is Immigrant investing, right? So some people will have a social security number, others will have an ITIN, individual tax identification number. And that means you're not, when you go do your taxes, you're not doing it with a social security number. That doesn't mean for, if you know, you know, that doesn't mean that you're not working with a social security number sometimes, right? So the thing is, we looked up a couple companies that do accept ITINs for brokerage accounts. Specifically, one of them is Fidelity, and I did call up Fidelity and going like, hey, I saw that you can invest and open brokerage accounts with an ITIN number through your company. However, what about like 401ks? Like, how does that work? If somebody comes to you and they're working with a social security number, but they're doing their taxes with an ITIN number. And they said, basically, we open the brokerage account, the 401ks, with whatever the company gives us. So if the employee communicates a social security number to the employer is going to use that social security number to open up that 401k. However, I have heard, so we do, our family business is now taxes. So I am like a licensed tax preparer. So I have heard some employees do actually give their ITIN number to their employer. Sometimes they're like contractors and their employer will take it. They're like, yeah, we're good with that. And so if that's the case where you're able to give your employer your ITIN number, I would suggest doing that so that your 401k brokerage can be open with an ITIN, because that then says that you have the claim to that account. Otherwise, estamos trabajando para alguien más. You're working for whoever actually owns that social security number, not to you, right? That actually probably pertenece to a real social security number holder. So, we're not here to work for someone else. We're here to work for us and to get us and our families ahead, because that's the whole reason why families immigrate. They didn't just come to be like, okay, I'm going to be in the same economic situation or worse than how I was from wherever I came from.
Exactly. And also while we were researching, anyone that's working with an ITIN, we saw that for the most part, with a brokerage account, there isn't a legal requirement that a person has to be a U.S. citizen or that or have an actual immigration status to either invest in own stocks. Generally, there might be a situation where the brokerage account will ask for more information, or you might not be able to do it online. But there is a possibility where you can call them or contact them and then go through like an extra step or maybe a paper application to open an account.
So this also goes, so I did mention 401ks, but this also goes to your IRA accounts and your personal brokerage accounts. Like, you can also open them, and we're going to give you guys a list coming up of different brokerages that do accept ITIN numbers for you to be able to open your account. So maybe, you opened up your 401k with a social security number through your employer. Okay, so maybe we need to move on to other accounts like an IRA or personal brokerage to start getting you investing, because whatever's in that 401k is going to the social security number holder. And if that's not you, that's not going to benefit you at all. So we'll give you guys a list. But yeah, this goes not just for 401ks, but all brokerage accounts.
Yep.
And there are some, so like I said, we're going to give you guys a list, but there are some brokerage companies that do require an individual to have a visa or a green card or a social security number to open an investment brokerage and make investments. But these will be internal company rules. They're not USA law. So by law, anyone with a social security number or an ITIN number can invest. Like, the USA law does not prohibit anybody from investing. It is going to be the internal company rules of whatever brokerage company that you're with and you decide to go to.
Yep. Yeah. So the following companies we found allow individuals to invest with an ITIN number would be Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, and Schwab.
Charles Schwab. So you can invest on schwab.com. And our source is tradingbeats.com. So if you guys want to know a little bit more information, they have an article that has different policies and things that we're talking about listed in there as well. So there is one caveat with investing with your ITIN, right? It expires before. They used to not expire. Now, though, they're being expired every year or every so often. So as the years go by, the laws change. And so now you have to renew them more often. So the latest I've seen is you have to renew it every year. So let's say you opened up your brokerage accounts with an ITIN number. You have to make sure, guys, you have to make sure to renew that ITIN number. And because otherwise, like, where's your claim to that account, right? But this should not scare you from opening up your brokerage and investment accounts with your ITIN, because, guys, we are saying this is super important. We need to not just save our money, you need to invest your money, because that's what's going to get you to your financial independence much quicker. So again, my example is going to be with Fidelity, because I literally just got on the call with them and wanted this for my customers, because I wanted to be able to help the immigrant community. So I called up Fidelity and I was like, okay, so what happens because ITIN numbers expire at Queen X Tina BR, where do you renew your ITIN? Okay, so there's actually a form, and you should go to your tax preparer, and or you can just look up renew ITIN form IRS, and there is a specific form, and it's like a one-pager. If you feel that you need help, go talk to your tax preparer. If you do taxes on your own and you're trying to invest, maybe we need to level you up to an actual tax preparer. So, but great questions, you guys. Keep them coming. If anything, put them in the question chat, and we will also get to them later if we can't get to you like right live. So renewing your ITIN number, right? So let's say it does expire. I called Fidelity. I was like, what's that about? Like, what if somebody is on vacation and their ITIN expires? And they said, okay, well, if you set up two-factor authentication, one being when you call them for service, they'll be like, hey, give us your social security. They're trying to identify you, right? So they're like, give us your social security number. If they can't identify you, they also do voice recognition. So you're going to want to attach your ITIN number, because they're going to ask you that to open it up. But you also want to set up your voice recognition over the phone. So what happens is if it expires, the U.S. government may be like, this person's no longer in the country. We can now assign it to somebody else. And so the worst case scenario is it gets assigned to somebody else, right? And you're like, what the F? Like, how am I going to get to my money and my investments? Again, don't be discouraged. I asked, and I was like, what if it gets assigned to somebody else? Because that's the way the government works, like they reassign numbers because we're run out of numbers. And they're like, okay, well, I was like, what happens if two people come claiming that money? One person actually has the ITIN because they were the latest person who got that number assigned, but the first person is the one that actually has the legal claim. And they said, well, in that case, we have the voice identification, right? So if person number one, who no longer has the ITIN number, if their voice is the one that matches the voice on file, they're going to get the claim to it, because that's the voice that we have, not the other person. So I was like, okay, great. So you guys, even if you have an ITIN number, by USA law, you are not barred from investing. But if you're going to go down that route, which I encourage, because, guys, we need to grow our wealth, make sure to renew it every year. And if you leave on a very long vacation, make sure to renew it every year. Still make sure that if you have investments that you keep renewing that number, okay? Because we don't want you guys to put all of, try your hardest to save all this dinero and put it in, your high yield savings accounts and your investment accounts, and you're going to have like this really nice nest egg, and then you leave for a year plus, you come back to like nothing. That's not what we're here for. We want you guys to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very good. Thank you for all that information. That's very important. And like she said, don't let this deter you from investing. Just make sure that you set up all the systems that in place to have a successful outcome.
Yes. So does anybody have any questions that you guys want to drop in the chat? If you guys have any questions, drop them now. We're going to be answering your guys' questions because we want to make sure that you guys feel comfortable with this. And again, if you guys want to book like a coaching session, if you guys want to go more in depth and talk about your specific situation, you can just DM me. I'll send you guys the link so we can set up our phone call. The first one is the VIP strategy call. So it's completely free to you guys, because honestly, I want you guys to know this information. So it's free, no strings attached. All you guys got to do is go through and book something on my calendar, and we'll get on a call. So as far as do you want to start summarizing like our points?
Sure. So like how what we were talking about earlier in terms of like the importance of being able to invest regardless of your status. It's just really important because it's one of the surest ways to create um, wealth. It's one of the ways that your money will grow, and it's a vehicle so that you can plan for retirement. Remember that we're all going to get old at one point or another. And many times when we don't know our older self or the older version of ourselves, it's really hard to plan for that person because that person is a stranger to us. But investing takes that step into planning for your future self.
Yes. And then you're planning also not just for you, right? But also your family. Because let's say you build something that's so big that you don't even spend it. And there is a way, right? There's the FIRE movement where you basically build up enough money where you don't have to work for the rest of your life. But let's say, you know, you over calculated, you can leave that wealth now to your children. And hopefully you don't just pass on a monetary inheritance, but also the knowledge that you've learned with us, either through following our pages or getting through a coaching session. You pass that on to your family so they can also build wealth, right? We want to be like one of those families that builds generational wealth, and like 7 generations down, they're still wealthy because somebody took that first step, and we want that to be you guys.
Yep. And in addition, when we are investing for a future, investing for our families, and creating that generational wealth that Maribel was talking about, it's also the ability to provide this like financial safety net, where you're creating a vehicle where this money is growing that you can later tap into, not only for yourself but also for your family.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great point. And we just want to super reiterate, if you're saving, that's great. That's a great first step. But it's not going to get you as far economically as if you were to be investing your money just because you have compounding growth. Like investing in the stock market, let's say, for example, index funds. And again, this is not financial advice. We are not, you know, certified financial people. This is just informational. If we were to invest our money into index funds in the stock market, it's on average after like a period of at least 10 years, it's a 10% compounding growth. So year number one, you're going to get 10% on the money you put in. Year number two, you're going to get 10% of the first money you put in, plus that first 10, you're going to get 10% interest on that money. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Whereas if you leave it in the bank, you're going to get like what, 0.001%. And due to inflation, your money is actually going to go down. And if you keep it debajo del colchón, or if you know people who do, because I've definitely heard stories, that's even worse, right? Like something could happen to the place where you live and your money just went up in flames. So if you guys are saving, that's great. That's a great start. And now we want to move you guys up and level you guys up to create wealth through investments.
Yeah, and not to say like, investing is risk free. There's always risk with investing. It's just that when you leave it in there for the long term, in the long term, you're more than likely to come out on top than, by just saving it. And of course, like the market, it's risky because the market goes up and down, up and down. It's a roller coaster. But over the long run, over the last 100 years, it has shown that even though it changes day to day, over the long run, it goes up.
Yeah, so just like with this pandemic, right? Maybe if you guys aren't super into investing, you guys at least heard that the market like went down and people were freaking out, right? But since then, the market has grown to where it was, back to where it was before like COVID levels. So anybody who invested like after, they're in the green numbers right now. And so the whole point about investing, or at least what I teach and propose, is long-term investing, right? We're not going to become rich del día de la noche a la mañana. It's not going to happen like this quick. You're going to be in there for at least 10 years. And you're like, yo, I don't have money to be putting in there for 10 years. Trust me, even $10 is going to grow into being more than $10 if we leave it in there long term. And that's why we also, advocate or at least I do.
Yeah.
Start an emergency fund before you get into the stock market, because that, at least if the market does go down or if something comes up, your emergency fund is the one that steps in to keep you from emotionally selling off your investments or having to sell off your investments because you need to pay off something like $3,000 or something. First, you build your emergency fund, and then there's different steps before you get to investing so that you don't like go like, oh shoot, I got to sell my investment. Shit, it was supposed to grow, but it's only been 3 months and now I need to take it out. Like, that's
Yeah.
not what we're trying to get you guys to hear. We're trying to get you guys to do this long term and take it seriously as a long term investment, not just like, I'm gonna put all my money in. That's also not what we're saying.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So are there any other last things that you want to add?
I'm good. I think we covered it. Unless anyone has any last minute questions, we'd love to answer your guys' questions if there was any confusing points. Let me read through the chat. AmyCobb.co said, reach out to a reputable tax professional. I completely agree, you guys. If you're doing your taxes DIY right now, that's great. You're saving the cost. But if you're going to level up your finances, you're going to probably want to consult with a professional tax preparer or a CPA. As you level up yourself and your investments, you want to level up the help that you're getting to more and more professional, because they will help you get all those tax deductions that you qualify for, right? It's kind of how they say, like, the rich get taxed less, but also it's the way they've structured everything for themselves that you're legally avoiding taxes, not because you're doing something shady, but it's because that's the way the tax law is written and you're entitled to those tax deductions. But if you're doing it by yourself, you might be like, okay, here's what my W-2 says. That's what I'm putting in.
Yeah.
And now I owe like $30. That's not that bad. We're good. But then if you go to like a professional tax preparer, they're like, why are you paying? You get a refund. And that's where we also don't want you guys to lose out on those refunds, and but also don't count on that. Like, if you guys come to like a coaching session, we're going to have you guys like saving up, and you're not going to be counting at the end of the year for like, oh yeah, I have to pay this $3,000 bill, but once my tax refund comes in, that's when I'm going to pay it off. Like, no, we need to build some better financial habits. And I think just as general, but also as a community, and especially as immigrants, because then you're going to find yourself in the lurch, and you may find yourself in a worse economic state than you were if you had just stayed in your country, right? And that's not the point of immigrating. The point, I believe, for most of the community that I've gotten to know is because they wanted to provide a better living for their children. They
Hmm.
wanted to provide, better opportunities for their children, and they wanted themselves, they wanted to earn a better income so that they could send it back home so that one day they could go back and live there. But again, plans change, and we also just need to become more educated as a community on personal finances,
Yes.
because otherwise we're not going to get ahead, you guys.
Hmm. I totally agree with that. Totally agree.
Yes. Any other points that you want to make, Evelyn?
Um, no, just I invite everyone, to continue sharing with our families to, just break down those barriers. Be that person that, even though it feels weird in the beginning, once you do it, there's this like complete cathartic moment almost. Being able to openly talk to family about finances, family about investing. So I invite people to continue researching, to continue looking to see, what best fits for you and in your personal finance journey, and also how we can talk to our peers and how we can talk to our family and get them also to learning about investing and building wealth and growing our money for our future.
Yeah. And if you guys are still like, great, this was a lot of information, but I missed something, make sure to watch the replay. It's going to be here. It's going to live on Instagram. Or if you guys are like, that was so much information, I get what you're saying, but I don't understand how to actually go about and execute this, hey, give me a call, put a book on but let's book a session, because I want to make sure that you guys, not only hear the information, but let's start implementing that information,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to get our community to just like level up here.
Yeah. So where can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, Twitter. I made a Facebook page, but I'm most active here on Instagram. And my is at OurWealthMatters. Come through. I'm gonna be putting up my website on my bio soon. But for now, if you guys want to book a session, just DM me. Just be like, hey, I want to book my VIP strategy call, and I will send you guys the link. And you guys can also see the other people that I've helped out so far and what their results have been. You know, if you're like, I'm kind of iffy, I've got results up there for you guys. I've got a roadmap up there for you guys of what I'm going to help you guys do and help you guys accomplish, because everything's about you, right? It doesn't matter about me. I'm trying to educate you guys. It's about you guys knowing what your financial goals are and how you're going to get there. Because if our parents, again, like went through a lot of stuff just to get here, right? To give themselves better opportunity, but also give us better opportunities. So we deserve it, they deserve it, we all deserve this information, and we should not just hear it, but also implement it.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for doing this live with me. I had so much fun researching, finding things out, because all of this was also somewhat new to me in terms of how we can help families that don't necessarily have a social security number. So I invite everyone to watch the replay. If possible, share it with your family and friends. And thank you so much for watching with us.
Thank you so much, you guys. And if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to comment. If you guys have a question, we'll see it on our notifications and we'll come back to you guys with some answers. So I hope you guys have a great day. I hope you guys learned a lot. If you guys want to share what you guys learned afterwards, feel free to send us a DM. We'd love to hear what you guys took away from this.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Bye, Evelyn. See you.
Bye.
Thank you so much for putting this together. Bye.